Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for spending a little bit of your time today with us. I think we have a really good program set up for you, for those of you who are joining us direct and live, and those who will listen in a little bit later. Um, it's really important, I think, to for all of you who are members and participants, and even interested in how MESA fits into the wider landscape of digital transformation and smart manufacturing, to understand something very important that we offer to the community, which is our global education program. And that's what we're going to cover a little bit today. Um, our title of our webinar is Accelerating Smart Manufacturing Capability. There is an awful lot that needs to be discussed within the realm of smart manufacturing and digital transformation. Um, the purpose really of the MESA Global Education Program is to level set a baseline of knowledge and understanding on the architectures, the ideas, the concepts behind smart manufacturing and digital transformation that help you to position yourself in your career, your team, within the context of your company, and within the wider community, be able to take in these different technologies and capabilities and transformational elements, business practices, put them to use in your organization to achieve the outcomes that you seek. By way of introduction, I'm Chris Monchinsky. I represent MESA as the Knowledge Committee Chair. The Knowledge Committee within MESA is responsible for the content that MESA produces, and curating the content that we have, the many, many years of content and terrific contributions that we've had over the years by our members. In addition to the Knowledge Committee Chair, I am a host of the podcast that we do within MESA, which is the Smart Manufacturing podcast called MESA Knows. We've been using the tagline MESA Knows quite a bit over the last 15 or so years, just to, again, evangelize to industry that the importance of the MESA organization is the collective of all of you, the knowledge that we all bring to the table and work together in order to achieve and solve the problems within our space of industrial and digital transformation. Now, I'm not alone. Joining me here also is Gerald Ipskamp. He is a practitioner within and a business consultant within MOMi. MOMi is a partner of MESA's. MESA generates and curates and helps develop the program for the GEP, but we do not deliver the training of GEP independently or on our own. We have partners that help take that training and then meld it into their program to deliver that training to the entire global community. Gerald is located in the EU. He is an authorized instructor, as is his organization, MOMi, authorized to deliver the MESA content for the GEP. And he'll go into great detail today about how the GEP is structured, how it's delivered, and the importance of the GEP within the global community. Also joining me today is Jan Uranovsky. Jan actually is a practitioner. He runs a team and a group delivering MES, and his day job was working for Eaton. Okay, So he is on the front line, if you will, having to deal with all the challenges of digital transformation and ensuring that his organization achieves the best value for these new transformational technologies and capabilities that we want to incorporate into our organizations. He's going to spend a little time with us, giving us his insights into how the GEP has helped him form his team and build out the muscle needed in order to deliver the kinds of transformational impact that is needed at his organization. Now, there's one other participant. Unfortunately, Juliana could not join us today. She had a pressing business challenge that she had to address this morning. So she sends her condolences. However, we did speak to her as a team earlier this morning and told her that we would definitely want to still encourage her to give her testimonial on how, again, the GEP program has helped her in her organization, Embraer. And she has agreed to do that. And we'll find out the best way to drive that vehicle forward, whether it's through a blog post or something offline, or if it's through perhaps another webinar or another participation online. Heck, I may even invite her to a podcast episode. That might not be a bad idea now that I'm thinking of it. Very quickly, for anyone who might not be familiar, you're all joining us today on a MESA webinar. Who is MESA? We're the Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association. We are a nonprofit industry association with members of over 30 countries serving industry since 1992. We are a nonprofit organization, an association, and we provide education, an opportunity for networking and collective sharing of information. Getting trusted advice, consult in a non-commercial, non-challenging way. We provide resources. Again, as the Knowledge Committee Chair, underpinning and within my purview, there's all the tremendous publications, resources, webinars, podcasts, blog posts, things that actually MESA provides to the community. And many of you work with us to provide that. We're going to talk about that pillar education today. That is really the GEP. That's what we're going to talk about. So again, with MESA, it's vendor neutral. We love to work with standards communities, but we are not a standards organization in and of ourselves. So we advocate for the adoption of standards is underpinning a lot of what we do. The GEP is formed around a lot of knowledge about standards within the space of smart manufacturing, within the space of digital transformation. And Gerald's going to go over that. And again, encapsulating and being captured within that GEP is best practice, right? What are the best practices in the industry today that can help you succeed? So why does this matter? Why would we want to talk about GEP specifically? Well, smart manufacturing is only accelerating. The pace of technology, the need to adopt and understand technology has never been greater. Of course, I can always talk about AI, and everybody could talk about all the things that have been happening in just the space of AI, large language models, machine learning, etc., in just the last couple of months, if not the last couple of years. And it's just getting faster and faster. Yet all these shiny toys that we have to play with now, I love to say the fundamentals still apply. The fundamentals are about how does this impact the business in a positive way? How does this move the needle forward for us? And we all as practitioners, we have to be able to answer those questions. So level setting on skills is incredibly important, and education is the foundation. That's where the GEP comes into place. So the GEP, it is a global education program, hence the name of the acronym. Right? It encapsulates MES and MOM best practices. We in the Manufacturing Enterprise Solutions Association still believe that the MES and MOM layer, that level 3 of operational technologies, is the key foundation for a successful digital transformation. And it is changing. There's quite a bit happening in that space. The old cliche is it's not your dad's MES, right? People say. I mean, things are becoming more compostable and fragmented, ported, containerized. Many different phrases and terms and technologies we have to deliver the right size solutions to our industry. But again, understanding those technologies and how best to implement those to impact the business, that's the key. It is an independent professional certification. We have digital badges associated with it. It's broken down into these three particular concentrations. There is a certificate of awareness, a certificate of competency, and then there's something very specific to B2MML, which is the business to manufacturing markup language, a open source implementation demonstration toolkit, if you will, for the ISA 95 integration standard. And we'll talk more about that as we progress. And again, why does that GEP exist? Some quotes that you just pull out of the community. These are all fairly recent quotes. A couple by Gartner, one by McKinsey, and even in the MESA community. Most MES failures are not technology failures. Again, we can get stuck on technology and talk a lot about technology, but they're failures of alignment, shared understanding, and execution discipline. So everything from understanding ROI, the impact, the change management, how to actually structure the project and deliver on time, on budget. All these things are paramount. This is what the GEP is about, is bringing together those best practices and putting them into a methodical way of thinking so that you can structure these projects and achieve success. So this is the program structure. As I mentioned, there's a certificate of awareness, a certificate of competency, and there's even refresher courses that are built into the GEP. So that if you've already taken a certificate of awareness, or if you've already taken a certificate of competency course set, a refresher course can bring you up to speed on some of the latest technologies and the changes in that course curriculum. And really quick, the impact of the GEP. We've been doing this since 2011 as an industry and for industry. Over 1,300 certificates of competency, 65% of the total. 82 B2MML certificates of competency. 82 people out there who have learned and gone through the program to understand the importance of how to implement a B2MML integration. Can't say enough for those who will talk to like Jan today about the importance of the program and exactly what the program does for industry in order to level set knowledge and understanding. So with that, I would love to turn this over to Gerald. Gerald, if you can walk us through some of the details in the GEP program, how it's structured in a methodical way, and how it introduces the participant to a way of thinking in order to be able to level set their knowledge and help them build up the appropriate muscle for an MES MOM transformation program within their practice.
Of course, Chris, thank you. I will start with the certificate of awareness, and after that I will talk about the certificate of competence, because the B2ML is more typical for people who are interested in integration. So it's more for specialists who want to go there. Everybody who does the knowledge, the awareness or the competence training gets some introduction on B2ML. So it's not that we exclude it from that, but it's in there also. And as you said, the refresher course is typically for people who did 5 or 10 years ago the awareness or competence training. So it's a smaller with all the new things in the courses. So these are the subset of what I'm going to present. So first, the awareness training. First misconception is that you might think you do the awareness before you do the competence or whatever. That's not the trick. The trick is they have different people that they target. And so the awareness is typically for people who want to know, have a framework, want to know a little bit about everything, get into the situation that they can ask questions to their specialist, be critical, design the overall picture for their business. So typically for business leaders, strategy, people who make strategy, who do operations. On the other hand, we see also people doing awareness who are totally new in manufacturing because of the lack of people in the manufacturing area. You see people coming in from banks or from retail or whatever. And typically these people are also starting with an awareness training because they know nothing and they don't want to be a specialist from the start. but they take the awareness training. Yeah, please. So let's talk a little bit about the content. This is the content coming out of the training. So of course we do some introductions, who is in the training and these type of things. Then we have the methodologies, the introduction of that, which is telling why, Chris did that already, why this training is interesting, what is happening in the world, why do you need to know certain things, etc., etc. So that's the introduction. And from there on, the 202 is really starting with content. And you see in the structure of the 202 to 205 already that it is this and that. So models and standards, mass data and solutions. And that means that it combines from the competence training, the modules there that are single. I will talk in that in 2 slides. It combines the information, but then less detailed, leaving out some small parts, etc., etc. So it is really a condensed COC material in the awareness training. Now, 202 is really making that foundation that Chris mentioned. ISO 95 is in there, but also about architecture, ISO 99 or cybersecurity standards, etc., etc. So we really introduce all the models, all the standards that are important in the area. Well, not all, of course, but the ones we think that are important. The next module is about master data and solution architecture, and that's typically a module that is new from 10, 15 years ago. So the refresher course is doing this module almost totally. Master data, important. What is master data? How do you define it? How do you control it? What is quality in master data? What is the problem if you don't govern it in the right way? With solution architecture, we talk about what type of solutions are there in the world. So MES, and everybody has heard of that, but also LIMS and CMMS and WMS and APS. Well, a lot of abbreviations. We will explain that and tell you about what is there, what is the goal of these applications and how they can work together. So that's the architecture part. So focusing on the foundation, master data, and then on IT solutions. The next module is again a combination of 3 different areas that we had to combine in smart manufacturing in one module. So smart manufacturing, manufacturing maturity, and metrics. In smart manufacturing, we explain what it is, what the concepts are, what you need to do to start, what not to do. You can also do the wrong things, of course. So we are not giving a training full on all the concepts in smart manufacturing, but enough to go intern in your company and start a discussion and be able to even lead that discussion. Manufacturing maturity is more assessing where you are now. So how is it going? Do you follow the standard ways of working that are defined? We use there, we talk there about SIRI, which is the Singapore Index for Smart Manufacturing Readiness or something like that. And manufacturing maturity, the second part of the module is about MESA's model. So MESA says we don't make standards. Chris said that, but they have a very nice maturity model, which is very good in assessing the internal maturity of your organization, with a focus on people, organization, governance, IT, and processes. So typically the manufacturing part of these items. And then we talk about metrics, another way of measuring how it is going. Now, all these things combined are a module. And the last module is about projects. So how do you prepare for a project to do something? How do you select a solution that you want to implement? And then how can you deploy it? So in deployment, we talk, for example, about a multi-site rollout, or these type of subjects. What is not in the slide is that you get a certificate of MESA, which has some value. Some customers and some companies ask that you have it for certain reasons. And for that reason, we have questions. So we have an in-course test and we have an out-course test to check that you really know what we are telling and you understand what we are telling. Yeah, Chris?
Excellent. Thank you. Keep going.
So the second one is the competency. So again, this goes deeper into the material. Is more for people who really are practitioners, like Jan, who's going to tell us about that. IT architects we have in this training. We have implementers, project managers. So really people, BI people who start working in IT and do manufacturing BI. So typically people who really want to know more detailed all those subjects. Next slide. So here you see what I said already. For example, if you look at the last one, 408, 409, 410, that is preparation, selection, and deployment. That was one module in the awareness. Well, here we have 3 modules, each 2.5 hours, talking about that subject. Preparation is in this module called justifying, which is how do you build a business case, for example, and what way. There are 2 ways to do that. A detailed way and a more high over, more generic way of doing it. And both are good in certain situations, and we explain that. We explain how you do selection. That would have been the story of Juliana. Juliana did the training and then was executing a MES selection in Embraer. So hopefully she is able to put it on paper so that we can learn from that experience. So MOM solution architecture, what we add here, for example, is a mapping of the solutions on ISO 95. So what is typically the intended scope of a solution? MES is mostly for production normally. A LIMS system is mostly for LIMS, but we talk also about the exceptions and the differences between if you do bulk or discrete or these type of things. Yeah, I think for the rest I explained most things. Master data management, again, is important. Hidden between manufacturing enterprise intelligence is also the subject of machine learning and AI. So we present in this training, in the COC, the competence training, we present a way of how Google trains their people internally about machine learning. So how to do a machine learning project. Also explaining that it's not maybe the best way to do it or the only way to do it, but it's educationally a very good way of starting to think about doing a machine learning project is not just buying a tool, but it is also organizing different roles, having projects, methodology, etc., etc. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. I think I explained most part of it.
Excellent. A very comprehensive program, as you can see, especially when you get into the certificate of competency. There's a lot of ground to cover. Jared, how long do one of these programs take? How many days? What's the commitment essentially to whether a certificate of awareness versus competency?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the awareness is, if you do it classroom, it's 2 days. But since Corona, we executed mainly or almost only online. And then it is 3 days, 5 hours. Yeah. And the competence training is it classroom is 4 days. But if we do it online, it's 5 days, 5 hours.
Okay, excellent. So give you an idea for everyone online of the program and what it takes to be able to digest and what you're in for to absorb that information. And as Gerald pointed out, there is a test for competency at the end of the program to ensure that you've absorbed the information and you've gotten value out of it. You've taken away the information that you need. want to talk a little bit about the business value of the GEP. And with that, I have Jan. As Jared already pointed out, Jan has gone through a certificate of competency, and then I think of him as a practitioner in the field, if you will. He's responsible for decisions such as architecture, the business solutions, the value they bring to the organization, ensuring that they're up and running and available to support operations. So Jan, can you give us some insights into your experience with the GEP and how it's helped you and your organization really, take on the challenges in today's smart manufacturing world?
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much. Hello again, everybody. So I would like to maybe preface this by stating that I did, in fact, completed both COC and B2MML. So this will be a testimonial that kind of covers both of them and how it affected my career track and where it got me so far in my professional life. So I joined the MESA GEP COC program for a simple reason. I wanted to understand manufacturing IT systems properly beyond the part I could touch day to day. Early in my career, I worked as an automation specialist in a chocolate factory. And over time, my work moved from hardware into SCADA. As soon as you sit at that layer, you start seeing gaps between what's happening on the line and what the business needs to know. And that's when I first ran into MES. I could see the value immediately, but I couldn't explain clearly how MES worked end to end or how it should connect across operations and IT. Around that time, I also noticed that there weren't many people who could bridge OT and IT in a structured way. So I decided to invest in building that capability deliberately. With corporate sponsorship, I took COC1, and for me personally, it was an eye-opener. The biggest change wasn't really learning any new technology. It was learning a methodology. How to frame MES work, how to connect the dots across manufacturing stack, and make clearer decisions around scope, boundaries, ownership, and how it all functions together. I came into the program with an academic background in process control, which trains you to think in cause and effect, constraints, and stability. GEP extended the discipline into MES and broader MOM space by giving me a consistent way to define boundaries, clarify ownership, and make interfaces predictable. COC1 gave me the structure, and a few years later, COC2, the B2MML course, helped me deepen the practical side, especially around integration discipline. Not long after, I moved into an MES analyst role, and my first major task was to help select an MES for a major corporation. That role came right after COC1, and while I cannot claim that the course alone got me there, it definitely strengthened my case and helped me show up with a clearer frame from day one. The clearer frame showed up immediately in how I approached requirements and supplier evaluation. Without a common framework, requirements often came in as plant-specific solutions and feature lists, what each side wanted to do, the system to do in their own terms. We would treat that as the reference point with suppliers, and the evaluation became essentially just a who fits into these boxes the best. By applying the course methodology, I was able to translate those inputs into an industry standard language and evaluate capabilities instead of shopping for specific functions. It moved the conversation from build me this exact thing into show me you can reliably perform this class of work and integrate it in a sustainable way. That shift reduced ambiguity, and in a bounded way, the documentation landed well enough that even the participating vendors commented on the clarity and structure. Selection, however, is only just a single milestone. The real test comes next when you have to make systems work together and keep them supportable. A few years into that role, we moved into baseline MES functions for a global platform. That's where I learned integration isn't a technical afterthought. It's where scope and ownership either hold up or fall apart. What COC2 gave me, where B2MML and integration fundamentals are a core part, was a disciplined way to talk about interfaces in business terms. What triggers an exchange, who owns the meaning of the data, and what good looks like over time. It helped me avoid frail one-offs and keep integration structured and repeatable. One of the practical takeaways for me was learning to anticipate constraints like master data variability. The course methodology gave me a way to handle that early by clarifying ownership and interface meaning, rather than discovering it late and paying for it in the rework. At that point, I noticed the real lever wasn't technical at all. It was alignment. When people describe scope, ownership, and interfaces the same way, execution gets faster and calmer because decisions don't need to be re-litigated at every single site. That's why I encourage my colleagues in the plant, either automation specialists and future MES analysts, to also take the program, especially those aiming for a strong technical career track. A shared frame helps people reason about MES work instead of reacting to the tool. And it makes cross-functional conversations that much easier. And it matters because maturity varies. Some sites are ready for structured governance, others are still building fundamentals. The methodology helps you meet people where they are while keeping boundaries consistent so the work can actually scale. A little over 4 years ago, I stepped into a global capability that was undergoverned and in practice largely untouched. What began as a single request quickly became a pattern. Another site, another variation, which made it clear this wasn't a one-off project issue. That repetition was the signal that the real need was an operating model. So I shifted from delivering individual solutions to building a repeatable way to deliver them. Clear scope, boundaries, structured triggers, defined ownership, and predictable interfaces. The footprint now supports a meaningful share of the organization and is positioned to expand materially this year as well. As that grew, my role evolved too. Today, I manage people, but I've stayed close enough to the technical detail to coach and support a team of specialists, and they're not just repeating what I built, they're improving upon it and applying it independently. Looking back, that evolution from individual delivery into a repeatable model and a team that can sustain it traces directly to the way program taught me to think. I still remember the first session with Gerard teaching because they set a clear standard for how to approach MES work. Structured thinking, clear boundaries, and discipline interfaces. I'm grateful for how the program framed that particular space. If I had to summarize the value, GEP didn't give me a single solution. It gave me a repeatable way to turn ambiguity into decisions and to do it responsibly and at scale. It's the difference between reacting to requests and leading with a clear frame for scope, ownership, and interfaces. The discipline has stayed useful no matter the plant, platform, or maturity level. And to the participants in the meeting today, if anything in that resonates with you, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I share practical lessons from this kind of work, and I'm always open to continuing the conversations there as well.
That is fantastic, Jan. I appreciate that. I don't know if anyone could have said that better. So, um, you touched on so many different things. The challenge of just again the change management, the people discipline. Being able to document proper requirements and manage expectations. Get to the root of the business solution and separate that from the technology. You talked about that and touched on that with your evaluation of vendors, not being concerned with a particular feature or technology or thing of that nature. Can you perform the work? Can you do what we're asking you to do and serve the business? And maybe you implement that technology in a slightly different way than another vendor. I want to be able to see through that as an end user that has to make these important choices. And I want to understand, hey, is this the right solution for us to support? And will it work properly for the business? And again, you touched on that as you started to roll this out in a more global role to multiple plants. And the fact that every time you bring the solution potentially to a different plant, they're at a different level of maturity. They may have a different set of requirements. They may have a different set of internal and or what they believe to be best practices that they want to influence the solution. You need to come up with a program to be able, not necessarily to force them down a particular solution, but have that conversation to incorporate the best of what they're bringing to the table and make the solution that you're going to deliver flexible in some ways, but also at the end of the day, you want a solution that you can support globally, so it has to be based on some general tenets that work everywhere. Business should operate the proper and fundamentally the same across multiple sites, multiple regions, etc., with the appropriate level of configuration for region differences, etc. So, fantastic insight, Jan. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, as Gerald has been talking, as Jan has been talking, we looked at the certificate of competency, the certificate of awareness, and Jan actually gave us some terrific insight into the certificate of competency part 2, which is the B2MML training. And we can think about B2MML, and of course you can take a look at B2MML as like I said, as an open source implementation, a toolkit for doing integration. I think Jan, you did a much better job of expanding on that concept to say, no, wait, Chris, it's more than that. At least the course starts with not so much what's in the XML or the JSON implementation. It starts with what is the methodology, the thinking behind integration, and how do you have those conversations? How do you tie that into master data ownership? Those things are fundamentally important. You really don't want to do integration until you understand or have a baseline for how you're going to structure that program. So I appreciate you also adding that insight to my description, which probably cut that a little bit short. That said, obviously, end users, manufacturers, those who have to implement and operate these solutions, as Jan said, not just the team leads, but and the technical leaders, but even those who are practitioners working in the team would all benefit from this. Both IT and operation leaders on both sides of the house. We still are talking today about IT and OT, right? As if they're two different entities, and they really aren't anymore. They've become so intertwined and interdependent and blended together that they both benefit from understanding this methodology and structured way of approaching these projects. The vendors can benefit from this because the vendors are supplying these solutions. And as I said, as they provide solutions that are more nuanced, more flexible, can be delivered as a service, any of these kinds of concepts technically allow these solutions to be far more configurable than they've ever been, far more flexible, far more nuanced in their implementation. And as a result, it's important for the vendors to understand how that solution can meet the needs of that business practitioner and that manufacturer. And of course, the solution providers, those of us who are in the integration space, doing the work in many cases of B2ML, but also understanding how to implement these solutions, again, to provide maximum business value to our clients. And as I mentioned, the GEP content is really built upon the foundation of all the MESA content coming out of the Knowledge Committee and the years of experience, white papers, testimonials, best practices, blog posts, and as Gerald mentioned, actually a structured methodology for assessing maturity, a maturity model that is part of the MESA collective, in addition to some terrific fundamental understanding and tools that you can use to measure ROI and help for justification discussions for the business. That content is put together in the GP, structured appropriately, delivered in the COA, delivered in the COC, and it's delivered by, at least right now, two authorized training institutes. One in Europe and North America, that's really the MOMi Institute. Gerald represents MOMi. CIWA represents and delivers the MESA content in the Asia Pacific region. So if you are in the Asia Pacific region, or if you know folks, or you have, again, global multi-site location, and you want to send people from a particular location that's located in the Asian theater to these training sessions, CIWA, we can get you that contact information from those folks. They provide the training in that region. And as I mentioned, Jared mentioned as well, a public online, that's the way it's delivered for the most part today. There aren't a lot of scheduled, I don't think there are any scheduled in-person trainings at the moment. So most of what's scheduled is online, but MOMi and CIWA are both amenable to doing in-house training as well. So if you're interested in not just getting individualized training, but training a whole team, it may be economic for you to consider having MOMi actually come to a facility or set up a training specific for a large group of individuals that you bring in to have them all hear the same information, talk amongst themselves, become even a bigger program within your own organization in order to develop the baseline knowledge set so that you can all move forward lockstep together.
Chris, if I may?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Please, one slide back.
Yeah, sure.
One small correction. So MOMi is not just US and Europe, but we also do Asia. And I was,
you do all that, okay.
Yeah. I was last year, for example, and that's immediately also an answer to a question in the chat. I was in India to give a training on location in an in-house training. So yes,
Okay.
we from MOMi at least, we go to the site if you have enough people to make it, of course, financially interesting for yourself.
Okay.
But we go there, and that is also in Asia. We did it in Indonesia, and we will go to Australia when needed. So we do it globally. So
okay, excellent. I'm glad you clarified that. So there's no there's no geographic restriction. It's not, it doesn't work like that within the program. So Gerald's here if you feel comfortable and you want to investigate more with what MOMi can do, as Gerald pointed out, especially if you're interested in setting up a program that's economic for you as an organization to have multiple people come to into a program simultaneously and have an in-person event. Gerald is amenable to do that. So definitely you can reach out to him about that. Just to really touch on this, that we do these webinars, you may or may not be a MESA member. If you are a MESA member, there is some special discounts that you can get by being a MESA member. MOMi is offering a 10% discount in 2026 for MESA members if you're a new member and you can sign up if you want to get that program. So just FYI, membership counts for lots of different reasons: to participate in MESA, to have your voice heard, to actually help contribute to influence the dialogue in many ways in the various working groups that we have and in other webinars and podcasts, etc. You can be part of the solution, but you can also receive some discount on the GEP if you want to get certified.
And to make it even more interesting, the discount is more money than the cost for the MESA membership. So you earn even more money if you become a member and then follow the training.
Yeah, so if you when you follow on and you're talking with Gerald and the team at MOMi and you set up a program appropriately, depending upon the structure of the program, that 10% actually, given what the cost of an individual membership would be in MESA, that 10% could actually be worth more to you off of that training. So it's a good point, Gerald.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So how to get started? At the MESA.org site, just hit on training events, certificates, and you can read more about this. You'll learn information that I've already given you and others have given you here, but you may learn also as more. And then, of course, at the MOMi website as well, at the MOM Institute, you'll have the link there where they have listed the scheduled programs, so you can see when the next program is available, scheduled, that you can sign up for. And likewise, CI Ways also has a registration site that you can hit as well. So I just want to leave this group with a question. It's an open question. I want you to take this question away with you. You've seen us present a little bit on the GEP. You've understood, hopefully, the kind of the importance of this baseline training and really setting up these programs. How can the GEP help your organization? I want you to definitely think about that as a takeaway from this. I did see a hand up go really briefly there. I'm happy to take a question or two if anyone does have a question for myself or Gerald or Jan here. Okay, so I saw that hand go up, but I didn't catch who you were, so I can't hold you accountable. There you go. Jose, go ahead. You should be able to talk now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. We're a group here in Mexico, Signux. We are an enterprise that makes cabling and food and beverage.
Yep.
We are right now, we have a track choosing the MES in our group. We want an MES system to be able to cover all our manufacturing processes. So I don't know if we can schedule a meeting, like a little bit more formal, to bring my director and speaks how can we how can you help us to in track?
Absolutely. I'm sure Gerald and I can set something up, where we can talk about, again, the value of the GP, some of the details behind it. It's one thing to get there's information on the MESA site. I don't know if you are a MESA member, there's information on the MESA site as well for various vendors and comparisons. We do a regular study on the development of AI, and that includes some vendor assessments as well. So there's lots of information there. But as we pointed out in the GEP discussion, particularly, the importance here is not so much selecting an individual. Again, you need to get to a point where you're selecting a vendor. Jan can talk to you about his journey for perhaps on doing that. But first we need to take a step back. What are the needs, right? Document them properly. Make sure you have the appropriate stakeholders at the table, communicate clearly, set up the appropriate project structures, etc., so that when it comes time to evaluate that vendor, choose that vendor, you can manage that vendor appropriately, implement the solution correctly, and see that successfully done in your organization. So the GEP is the purpose of the GEP is to provide that foundation for success. I'm happy to continue this discussion after this meeting.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
if you want to connect with me, then easiest way is the link for my LinkedIn is in the chat. So
Yep.
if you connect with me, then you see in my contact info and my email, and then we can set up and schedule a call quite easily.
Oh,
Perfect.
thank you. Thank you. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an interesting question, Amy. Not sure. I mean, I can unmute you if you'd wish to do that as well. But
Sure.
does it. I mean, again, it's all nuanced, right? Based on the size of the organization, the maturity of the corporate engineering group versus the sites, the disparity of the sites themselves, right? I mean, I can think of large global manufacturers where you know them by their name, by certain products they make, right? And so, but when you start looking at them from the inside, their global manufacturing footprint, they have plants that also make maybe materials that sell business to business, or products that sell to other regions that you may not be aware of as a consumer, and from the outside looking in. And then you realize, oh, those plants are completely different. One's a discrete manufacturer, another one's making oils and doing bioreaction. And it's like, how do they manage all these plants? Well, from a corporate perspective, of course, they have their assets, their commercial, there's commercial value to them. They have sales. They have structure to manage those different product portfolios. But is the MES solution the right solution for both of those locations? Maybe not. So how do you manage that? Those are important questions. There's no perfect answer for that. But again, I would argue that the GEP provides that foundation for you to be able to understand, how do I evaluate MES solutions and as Jared pointed out, there's a portion in the certificate of certainly of competency. I know it's an awareness as well, but competency, they go into more detail about the different styles of manufacturing, the different elements of and strengths of different MES products. If it's a batch-oriented manufacturer, discrete-oriented, or does continuous-oriented manufacturer, and the subsets associated with them. If it's in discrete, is it automotive discrete? Is it semiconductor? It's like, and each of them have different, I would say requirements, but over time they have had different best practices that make their solutions somewhat nuanced because they have different challenges for supply chain, different complexities of assembly, different consumers or business-to-business sales, and all of those things affect operations and manufacturing needs. So tough question, but that's what the GEP is supposed to do, is to give you the level set understanding to be able to articulate, appreciate, and then work through that problem to put together a program at it, maybe a global level, as you're suggesting, that works best for that organization, no matter what the collection of manufacturing entities they have.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I try to understand that if this course can help me understand, this type of thing, because myself was in regional before, but now I'm in global role. So we are still struggling, like if we should implement a global MS template or we should let the region to handle them by themselves, right? It's not only about the process itself, it's also about the cost. A lot of countries, they, in terms of cost, they think like global MS is too pricey, but there are some small MES system locally, they are much cheaper than the global solution. So that's the main reason I was asking the question. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may add something, so we can discuss that in the course. That's something we do. These questions pop up in the course, and I will answer that. And I also give examples. So that's one thing which is not in the material, because I have a lot of experience, so I will tell about the experience. For example, to answer this question, I have 3 examples. So I did a selection for a headquarters-led organization. So there we did one selection and one template, and everybody gets rolled out the template. we have organizations where the site manager is independent. So there you have the own selection and etc. etc. And you have something in between where you in the Dutch company was that where you have a pharmaceutical area where you need a different MES than in the chemical area. So there you select two MES solutions. But that answer is typically what I would give you in the course if you would ask that in the course.
Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Any other questions? Well, it sounds like the question I put out here, I've got some people thinking already, so that's terrific. I appreciate that. Like I said, if you spent some time with us today, this is the question to take back. Let me understand more about the GEP. Someone had asked in the chat before for the LinkedIn contact. I had put in Gerald's LinkedIn contact. So as he pointed out, from LinkedIn, you can reach him. And of course, as I pointed out in the earlier slide, the URL, MOMi has a website, obviously, where you can get information. From MESA, you can link and connect over to MOMi as well. So there's several different ways to get the attention of the individuals on this call and MESA in general when you want to follow up and understand more about the GEP program and what MESA can do for your organization.
Yeah, and the price is on the website. So there's a question about the price. So the price is on our website, which is the one-person price. So if you come with more than 5 people, you get a discount. If you're a MESA member, you get a discount. So there's other opportunities if you come with more than one person. But the prices are on the website.
Perfect.
Then
well, with that, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's one question about ISO 95 standard.
Okay.
If we do other standards. Yes, we talk also about other standards, but not in that extent. Like MESA, we believe also that ISO 95 is the most important standard in the area. So we touch on other standards, but ISO 95 is the most important standard in the training.
Yeah, there's training actually. Like you can go to the International Society of Automation is the publisher creator of the ISA 95 standard. I happen to be the chair of that community and have been for about a decade now. So ISA has training on 95 specifically. MESA's training and the GEP incorporates 95. As Joe said, we think it's incredibly important. It's foundational for lots of different reasons. But as Jan pointed out in his discussion, and you talk about B2ML, it's not just the nuts and bolts of what's in the XMLs and how you can necessarily use them per se. It's more about integration patterns, integration technology, why, best practices, the tool sets that are available today. We have enterprise message buses. We now have AI transformation embedded in a lot of these tools. All these things are influencing the way 95 is implemented. Even in the newer instantiations of 95, you have something called a concept called an event-oriented architecture, where rather than having granular pieces of data transfer back and forth, you package these things into an operational object and you transfer them in more an atomic transaction. So there's different integration patterns that are covered within that field of study as well, that I think go beyond just the 95 training. Because 95 is one standard. There are some other integration standards out there. There's OAGI, there's MEMOSA, there's several different even integration standards that are parallel or complementary to 95, but in the realm of maybe enterprise business management or in asset management, even in quality, lots of different integration standards, as we all are aware. So this should give you some foundational understanding of the challenges in integration, how to structure the projects properly, how to compartmentalize, have those discussions about master data and appropriate end game outcomes, as Janne pointed out, and then implement the specifics of a technology like 95.
There's a follow-up question, what the difference is between MESA and ISO 95 training. Well, in the MESA training, we don't do an ISO 95 training. We don't talk, for example, about the data objects. And we do very more high level than going in all the details which are in the ISO 95 training. So the MESA training is not an ISO 95 training, but you get all the models high level and but where it is usable. That's the focus of the MESA training. Where can you use it? So
yes,
so
yeah.
that's a big difference.
Think about the difference between again, the specifics of an operation schedule object and what's in it and versus what is the pattern for integrating and capturing and exchanging scheduling data, and at what levels do those pieces of data get decomposed and shared to different objects, different tasks, different systems. That higher level understanding is what you're going to get. The integration pattern is what you're going to take away from the GEP course.
Yeah, agree.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Oh, they got one more. I appreciate all the interest. Thank you very much. I want to make sure that we answer everyone's questions, so please keep them coming. Biggest struggle. Okay, so in a global role, 10 types of MES solutions, but now we aim to use UNS, the same data coming from multiple producers. So how do you integrate now? Well, what is inherently the MES solutions use their own model? Great question. There is some discussion about these concepts and really comes back to a little bit of the master data management concept, right? Understanding what is master data, how to create a good data governance, how to have those discussions, and those discussions are happening before necessarily you're implementing these solutions. But I don't disagree with you. In the world that many of us live in today, we still have these siloed applications that have their own UI, their own database, their own transactional engines, and they are sold as products and licensed that way and delivered that way. And then they exchange and integrate. In the world that we're changing into, the discussion is around how you as a global organization own your data, and you best can describe your data and how you want it structured, and bringing to heel the vendors to operate within that landscape. So you own the unified namespace, to use that term that you threw there, right? And then you dictate through various technical means, integration technologies, even a technology and a tool like ISA 95 is changing in the way it's used. You used to be able to pass an XML back and forth, maybe through a file share, right? Between SAP and your ERP MES system, right? Then we went to message buses, but now we have data-centric modeling, where basically 95 actually is part of the solution to implement that structure for UNS, where all data now is modeled that way. So it's a little bit of a different way of thinking. And first and foremost, it's an architecture discussion, which is part of what's covered in the GEP. And then it's about how you evaluate applications and set up integration patterns for that. So it's definitely covered in the GEP, and it's something that continues to evolve, and that's why the refresher courses are continually updated as well. Gerald, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, just shortly. We only have 3 minutes. So ISO 95 part 6, 7, and 8 discuss this how you can organize this interfacing by standardizing catalogs of definitions and these type of things. UNS is not yet part of the training, so hopefully, probably it will be in the next update. We will talk about UNS then also, but currently UNS is not in the training.
Yep. Like I said, the concept of UNS though permeates.
The concept is in there. The concept is in there.
It's the fundamentals still apply, right? This is about it's about really better data governance, and I always like to think of flipping the problem inside out rather than having application silos that are integrated together. You as an organization own your data. You dictate how the data should be structured, and then all these applications need to be I like to say brought to heel, right? So that they work within your data governance requirements in your landscape. And then the trick is, of course, how you do that. But there are ways and there are methodologies, and a lot of these things are covered. So,
if I may add, just from a practitioner's perspective, also on the same thing, we obviously went through something like this even in the company where I work. And one of the things that this coursework enabled in a way was outside of the high level understanding, also identify where the value is in all of this data, because ultimately the exercise should never really be push all of the data into UNS. The exercise should be push the data where you see return on value, where you see return on investment, because these solutions aren't cheap. These solutions need to be configured. All of these things are taken into consideration when you're implementing.
Terrific. Appreciate that. we are out of time. So I thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for the great questions. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time spent with us today. Let's keep that dialogue going. Be in MESA. Join us here in the Knowledge Committee. Join us in the discussions in the working groups. Be part of the solution. Add your thoughts and ideas. Get something out of your membership. That's what it's all about. It's a community. So again, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.